Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight on Thursday, November 14th for our Burbank Parks and Recreation Board meeting. Got a lot of folks in the audience, so excited to see some faces. Why don't we all stand up and salute our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chad Thompson for roll call.
Good evening, Chair Ara Masurlian.
Here.
Vice Chair Ashley Ramsey.
Here.
Board Member Robbie Brody.
Here.
Board Member Mickey DiPaolo.
Here.
Board Member Maisha Gamino, and note the absent of Maisha Gamino. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Susie Avetisian for announcements.
Good evening, Chair Ara Masurlian and members of the board, and thank you to everyone joining us this evening. I am Susie Avetisian, the newest analyst in the Park and Recreation Department, although I have been a proud city employee for over 16 years now. Tonight, I'm excited to share our department's November and December announcements. Please begin the slideshow. Burbank Adult Sports Winter Registration. Winter Adult Sports Registration is now open for kickball, volleyball, softball, basketball, and soccer. Registration includes 10 to 12 games, official fees, and game balls. Join the fun and visit burbankca.gov/adult sports to learn more. Plant for a greener Burbank. We're planting trees. Participants are encouraged to bring gloves and shovels. Registration is now open at burbankparks.com. Our next event is at Johnny Carson Park on Saturday, November 23rd at 9 a.m. The Kitten Adoption Fair. Visit the Burbank Animal Shelter at 1150 North Victory Place during our kitten fair to meet adorable kittens in foster care and learn more about fostering. You won't want to miss this perfect opportunity on Saturday, December 14th. Goat Yoga Hike Day. Join us for a one-of-a-kind experience. Take a hike while fun-loving goats interact with each participant on this class taught by a certified yoga instructor. Register today at burbankparks.com. Burbank LA Kings Night. Get ready, Burbank. It's time for the city's LA Kings Night. Join us on Saturday, December 7th at 5 p.m. for fun, friends, and hockey. Grab your tickets now at burbankparks.com. Moonlight Hikes. Join us tomorrow night on our staff-led moonlight hike to the View. Hike times vary based on sunset times, but visit burbankparks.com to register today. Community Arts Grant. Calling all local artists. The Community Arts Grant Program application period is closing on November 19th. If you are a local artist and would like to apply, please visit burbankca.gov/community arts grant. Burbank Animal Shelter Spay and Neuter Program. The Burbank Animal Shelter now offers a spay and neuter rebate program. The program provides a rebate of $100 for dogs and $50 for cats that have been altered up to 60 days before applying for the rebate. This is available to Burbank residents only while funding is available. Applications are at the animal shelter or online at burbankanimalshelter.org. Story Owl Hour. Join us for our next Story Owl Hour at Stow Canyon National Nature Center. Children ages 2 to 5 will be owl ears to enjoy a story and check out books from Burbank Public Library staff. Register for the November 21st and December 19th story times by visiting burbankparks.com. The Wild Creatures Walk. Don't miss out on our exciting Wild Creatures Walk. It's the perfect opportunity for your little ones to have fun while learning about wildlife in the Verdugo Mountains. Visit burbankparks.com to get all the details and sign up. The Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center Holiday Boutique. Kick off your holiday shopping at our holiday boutique with a unique selection of pottery, jewelry, paintings, ornaments, decorations, clothing, knitwear, and more. All items are created by students and instructors of the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center, as well as members of the Fine Arts Federation. Visit burbankca.gov/BLCAC for hours of operation. Breakfast with Santa. Parks and Recreation and the Burbank Town Center invite you to join Santa for breakfast on Saturday, December 14th. Enjoy some yummy food, holiday music, and fun activities. Registration is open and spots do go fast, so visit burbankparks.com to register today. The Mayor's Tree Lighting Ceremony. Join us at Burbank City Hall on Saturday, December 7th for the Mayor's Tree Lighting. Soak in the festivities as we illuminate the tree in front of City Hall with hundreds of twinkling lights. The evening starts at 6 p.m. with live performances and holiday music. Noon Year's Eve Party. Style Canyon Nature Center is ringing in 2025 a little early. Join us at 10:30 a.m. for activities, snacks, and a countdown at noon. This is a drop-off event, but parents are welcome to join us for the New Year's countdown at 12 p.m. Visit burbankparks.com to register. And lastly, join our team. We are seeking talented individuals to join our happy team. To view our current openings, visit burbankca.gov/PR jobs. And thank you, everyone. That concludes our department announcements.
Phenomenal job, Susie. Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome to the team.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, we will introduce Ms. Christina Lara for a very nice presentation and recognition.
Good evening, Chair Masurlian and members of the board. My name is Christina Lara, and I'm the Recreation Coordinator that oversees Stowe Canyon Nature Center. Thank you for having us here tonight to recognize and thank all of those involved with making this year's Haunted Adventure possible. Haunted Adventure is a beloved annual event hosted by our Parks and Recreation Department up at the Starlight Bowl. Since its debut in 1997, Haunted Adventure has grown into a community tradition that brings people together for a thrilling experience year after year. This event is a 15-minute journey through an elaborate haunted maze, and each year we take on a new theme to keep things fresh and exciting. This year, our theme was Laboratory of Lost Souls, a spooky science lab gone wrong. Our Starlight Bowl was transformed into a chilling laboratory where sinister experiments had unleashed terrifying consequences. Brave souls from the community ventured through the maze, navigating through eerie scenes and unexpected frights at every turn. Over the course of 4 nights, Haunted Adventure drew in 700 registered participants, making it one of the highlights of the season. None of this would have been possible without the incredible teamwork behind the scenes led by the Stowe Canyon Nature Center team. This team includes Recreation Services Manager Noah Altman, Recreation Leaders Chris Chan and Diana Fowler, and Work Trainee Amber Dyer, in addition to myself. I also want to extend special thanks to our volunteers, who are truly the heart and soul of this event. Our volunteers, including our scene leads, scare actors, carnival assistants, and those who help with set prep, dedicate countless hours to make this event a success. In addition to our individual volunteers, we're fortunate to partner with local businesses and organizations that contribute their expertise and resources. This year, we worked alongside Independent Studio Services Prop House, who lent us various props and decorations, Volt Lights Incorporated, who provided professional lighting equipment, greatly enhancing the event, Tinsley Transferred, who provided temporary tattoo-type makeup effects, and Raising Cane's, who donated meals for our staff and volunteers. We also want to extend our gratitude to Psychopomp Dance and Generation DCD for their interpretive dance and flash mob performances. All of these contributors played an essential role in creating the unforgettable experience that is Haunted Adventure. Many of our scene leads, volunteers, and partner companies have been part of this event for years, donating their time, talent, and energy to bring joy and a little bit of fear to hundreds in our community. Our scene leads and volunteers work long hours behind the scenes, often far beyond what we get to see on the event nights, and they make sure every detail is just right. Altogether, more than 40 volunteers contributed over 900 hours of service to this year's Haunted Adventure, and we couldn't be more grateful to their dedication. Though not everyone could be here tonight, we want to take a moment to thank each and every one of them and helped make this event a true success. Your hard work, passion, and generosity are just a few of the reasons why our community is such a special place. At this time, I'd like to invite you, Chair Masurlian, to join me in presenting certificates of recognition to all of those that were able to make it out tonight. So first, I would like to recognize a representative from Volt Lights Incorporated who provided a generous in-kind sponsorship of professional lighting equipment for our event, and his little daughter. Now I would like to invite up our spectacular scene leads, Michael Allen, Marie Dyer, and Sierra Dyer. And finally, our magnificent volunteers that have helped with setup, scare acting, and all the different event areas. We have Maddie Anderson, Vincent Aganian, Sam Barnhorn, Aiden Dick, Sydney Lord, thank you all for your hard work and dedication to this wonderful event. Did you want to say anything else?
No, you're good. I didn't make it this year, unfortunately, but I did go last year, and my kids had so much fun, and I know how much work goes into it, and all the scare actors, all the production folks, everyone that put their blood, sweat, and tears into putting it together. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts, from the city, from the board, from the staff, from the community for putting this really, really cool event together, and we hope to see it come together for the next several years, and hopefully you guys can continue to play a part in it. Thank you. I always like my board to come up for a photo, please, if you guys
Kind
can.
of center, don't be shy. Y'all know each other? We're all friends. Don't be scared because I was in the hallway, I'm sorry.
Chris, Amber, you guys should come up too. You guys are part of the project.
Awesome, thank you. Push a little more. A little more.
Everyone, squeeze to the
We're
center.
friends, we're friends. Good, Noah?
Scary cheese. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Take this.
That was great. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to our department director report, I'd like to introduce Ms. Marissa Garcia.
Good evening, Chairman Serling and board members. I do not have a report for you this evening.
All right, then. Now it's time for public comment. Now is the time for general public comment for members of the public who are here in person and wish to speak. Please present a completed, I guess this is yellow, general public comment card to the recording secretary. Any person speaking during general public comment may address the board on any matter related to the Parks and Recreation Board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. In order to promote fairness, please stay within your maximum allotted time of 3 minutes. A timer is available on the podium to help the speaker keep track of how much time is left. Please state your name for the record. I also encourage you to call in during the general public comment period at 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue with all in-person comments until all in-person comments have been received. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV or computer and take your phone off speaker when you deliver your public comment. At this time, we will begin with in-person comments, and the first speaker card I have is a good friend of ours, Mr. Eric Hack.
Okay. Well, good evening. It's good to see y'all. Members of the board and, of course, the wonderful Parks and Rec staff, good to see y'all, and others who've taken time out of their evening to participate in this meeting. My name, for the record, is Eric Hawk, the current president of the Burbank Community. No offense taken. Current president of the Burbank Community Band's Board of Directors. First, a big thank you to this board. I do, and the band does, appreciate your support for the work that our volunteer band has produced. As many of you already know, the Burbank Band has had a big start to its 2024-2025 season. On Saturday, October the 26th, it was our Halloween concert in Burbank at First Christian Church. I'm happy to report the show had a great turnout for haunting tunes, and our audience costume contest was actually a bigger success than the year before. And this was very important because we were going up against the Dodgers in Game 2 of the World Series, so that it was wonderful for the community of Burbank to turn out for this. Less than 2 weeks later, we had 2 more shows in honor of Veterans Day. On Friday, November the 8th, the band played at the Burbank VFW on Magnolia Boulevard, and which was a neat experience. The band, of course, sounded great, but it was not a traditional music space, and made it a really interesting experience for those who were there. We may be able to do this one more time, and this might be the Friday before Memorial Day, so put that into your little phones, because it's really a very only in Burbank kind of experience there for sure. And of course, earlier this week on Monday, on November the 11th, the band performed at McCambridge Park as part of the city's Veterans Day ceremony, which our band is always happy to be a guest of and performing for our home here in Burbank. In a little over a month, the Burbank Band will have its last concert of the 2024 calendar year, and this will be our December holiday show on Saturday, December the 21st at 5 p.m. The band will perform at First Christian Church at 221 South 6th Street. The music is going to be a great collection of holiday tunes with some unique instrumentation. Among some of the pieces are a collection of familiar holiday themes from the Grinch and Rudolph, those claymation era times, and then also a really cool version of Little Drummer Boy played to Ravel's Bolero. Underneath is the percussion there. This performance on Saturday, December 21st is being made possible by a generous support of the 2024 Burbank Arts Grant. And if I read this, we are the final performance of the grant-funded groups of this calendar year. So thank you for your support, and please come out and support the Burbank Community Band. Thank you.
Good timing. Thank you, Eric. Really appreciate you always coming out here and letting the community know of all the different events you guys will be performing at, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doesn't look like we have any other in-person comments. Do we have anyone on the phone?
No phone public comment.
No phone. Okay. Seeing there are no other speakers, we will now close public comment. Board members, any response to public comment? Mr. DiPaolo.
Thank you, Chairman Serling. I just want to thank Eric and the band for every year coming out for our Veterans Day and Memorial Day ceremonies at McCambridge. Burbank Community Band, without them, they represent Burbank, and especially on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, they really come out with some real patriotic music. They do a great job. They pour their heart and soul into it, and it's been the VFW. It's been our pleasure to have them come the last Memorial Day and then this past Veterans Day and perform, rehearse is what they're doing. And we had a nice little turnout there at the VFW. They were really crowded for space, but they were very patient. A lot of them had to hump their drums down the Magnolia Boulevard because Fridays there's street cleaning, so But we appreciate your patience, and it was nice for the veterans to be there and see that. But thanks to Burbank Community Band, who've been involved in our ceremony since 1988. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate that. All right. Do we have, Ms. Garcia, do we have any written communications?
And no written communications were received.
All right, thank you. Park Board, any comments, any liaison updates you guys want to? Nothing? Nothing?
You know,
Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing, Marissa, I don't know if you would remember, but I don't know how many years ago it was that I was in the audience to get my certificate for participating in Halloween event with my daughter as a carnival assistant, and she was a scare with the Parks Board chair coming down, and I have that same picture, so, wow, it's amazing. Still volunteering, but I can remember that event, and you were probably sitting right there. Anyway, it was neat to see those volunteers again, so thanks.
Thank you for that. Okay, let's move on to the fun stuff, huh? I'd like to bring up Miss Dina Moon to talk about our capital improvement program for our next fiscal year.
Good evening, Chairman Cerulean and members of the board. Dina Moon, Senior Administrative Analyst with the Parks and Recreation Department. Tonight, I'll be presenting our annual capital improvement project submissions for fiscal year 2025-26. I promise to make it brief so we can get to the exciting stuff coming up next. Annually, the department evaluates the unfunded needs list, which includes projects such as playground and shade structure replacements, facility maintenance and improvements, as well as identifying the need for additional funding for continuing CIP projects. The department assessed and prioritized needs for fiscal year 2025-26 and has identified the following 8 projects. The continuation of Johnny Carson Park shade structure. This funding will cover anticipated hard cost increases as well as soil testing requirements. Continuation of the Burbank Channel Bikeway Public Art Project. Develop Clubhouse Expansion Design Phase. George Isay Master Plan. This upcoming fiscal year will focus on the schematic design and design development phase. Ballfield Lighting Modernization Project at Gross Park Ballfields. This will modernize the ballfield lighting with energy-efficient LED systems. Gross Park Ballfield and Valleyscape Park shade structures. Starlight Bowl Transformation Project Phase 3, which includes the feasibility and environmental studies. And park improvements at Lundigan and McCambridge Parks. Please note the department removed the McCambridge Central Kitchen Design and Remodel Project noted in the staff report, as Public Works will be taking the lead on that project. And each year, items that are not included in the CIP submission process are included on the citywide infrastructure unfunded needs list. This list prioritizes projects for the next 10 years. While these projects have been identified as a priority, funding is not currently available. Our department has the following submittals for fiscal year 25-26 in no specific order. Adaptive Sports Park, Animal Shelter Replacement, DeBell Clubhouse Expansion, George Isay Master Plan, Mary Alvord Rec Center and Verdugo Aquatic Facility renovations, McCambridge Park Pool Replacement, Pickleball Sports Complex, Starlight Bowl Transformation, Tuttle Senior Center renovation, and the expansion of Valleyscape Park. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the board? Yeah. Anyone have questions? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, we are a little confused why the Easy Park Master Plan is on here, because we're doing it.
Right. So currently, the first phases are funded. However, we don't have the actual capital outlay for the remaining phases. And that goes for the Starlight Bowl transformation project as well. We have the initial funding, but it has not been allocated in the budget for the future phases. Mm-hmm.
Is the animal shelter, oh, I'm sorry. Is the animal shelter replacement, is that project to literally replace the kennel, everything? The whole,
I believe it's to look for a new location. Marissa, if you wanted to.
Yes. So
Wow.
the thought, if you're familiar with the Burbank Animal Shelter location, it's not the most ideal location. So the concept is to look for another place to build a new, or to move the animal shelter to another location that's centrally located. Maybe easier ingress and egress.
Wow.
And larger. I think a community of our size, I think having a larger footprint, more space for the animals to be able to stretch their legs would be nice.
when I see, Marissa, I feel like I'm always donating to animal shelter events sponsored by, where's that money going? Because those are not city events. Those are, I don't know, groups that are raising money for the
Correct.
silent auctions and all that. Where's that going?
So there is one large nonprofit group, which is Volunteers of the Burbank Animal Shelter, which is a nonprofit group that supports the Burbank Animal Shelter. The city funds, so general funds, city funds, the operation and the facility. However, there are nonprofit groups. Leadership Burbank last year, their
yeah.
class supported enhancements to beautify an area of the animal shelter. A lot of the nonprofit groups that support the animal shelter will be to enhance some of the, like the kennels, to make improvements, to either make physical improvements or to purchase equipment. For the vet and to treat the animals, to pay for some medical expenses. To take we go above and beyond, I think, to really help treat the animals that are at the animal shelter. So there's a lot of expenses that are paid for through these donations and through these nonprofit organizations.
Oh, okay. I wondered where that.
Yes.
So it's above and beyond what the city provides.
Yes.
Because I think that animal shelter is something we can take a lot of pride in. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's just, it's amazing. But I guess the city funding is not enough to even make it the way it is right now. We rely on the VBA and.
Well, the city's funding supports the core operations.
I see.
I think so. A lot of the enhancements, the pond that's there, the murals that are there to really make it truly special. That's funded through these nonprofit groups and donations. Not to say that. I think the cities, we are really responsible to our taxpayer dollars, and so we want to make sure that we are spending our dollars to treating the animals, to ensuring their care, but to go above and beyond and spend $20,000 or $10,000 to perform surgery on a cat. That's probably not something that we may use general fund dollars for, and that's what some of these nonprofits will pay for.
Do you have?
And don't quote me on the price.
Oh, no.
I'm just throwing, but there are some expenses that are paid for through these organizations.
Do you have some ideas about where you would like to see it physically go?
I've had some thoughts, yes.
Okay. Tell us sometime. Not today.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Marissa.
Thank you, Robbie. I have one question. I don't think it's a surprise, the question I'm about to ask, but the pickleball court complex, can you expand on that? Where, when, all that fun stuff, whatever you can provide? I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking me, so what? Anything that you have you can share would be great.
I'll defer to Diego.
Oh gosh, why do I get the pickleball questions? Okay, no. So again, you're going to be receiving a city park master plan presentation this evening, and it'll inform. That process will inform how we prioritize projects in the future. We're going to be taking that master plan to council for adoption, and then we're going to be coming back to this board with future plans on how we're going to prioritize future development. So there's definitely more to come. The voice of the pickleball community during the park master plan process was heard loud and clear. And as you read through the presentation, we made sure that we made a note of all of those comments. So I know that that doesn't answer your question wholly, but know that we are working on prioritizing those lists based on adoption of that park master plan.
And would this be an expansion at potential expansion at Maxim?
Potentially, that could be something that we look at.
Okay. So this is just to get all these things on the list are to get an adoption from the council for funding for future use, not use for next year. Is that correct?
That is correct, for future years.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to introduce Mr. Diego Ceballos, who will go through the next couple of items, which is the George Isaiah Master Plan, and then followed up with the citywide master plan.
We're just going to hold on the PowerPoint for now. Good evening, Chair Mazzillian, members of the board, Diego Ceballos, Assistant Director of Recreation, Parks and Recreation. I am very excited this evening to bring you an update on what we're calling Phase 2 of the George Isaiah Park Master Plan that includes an architectural analysis and renderings of the new Olive Recreation Center and Performing Arts Center. Just to go back a little bit, on October 11th, 2022, the Park Master Plan was approved by Council. The Master Plan represents a collaboration between the city, key stakeholders, community members, and RJM Design Group. It captures the needs, wants, and desires of the community as it relates to the George Isaiah Park improvements. I'd like to, today, is my pleasure to introduce Tamara McClory, who's the project manager at RJM Design Group, who will walk us through the new proposed Olive Rec Center and Performing Arts Center building, their respective floor plans, the general layout, 3D renderings, and the level of deep community engagement that informed the development of these items.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here to present the next phase of our project, as Diego mentioned, and I'm happy to see many of your faces again. It's been a few years, but we've been hard at work on the George Zay project, so if you're able to start the presentation, perfect. So as mentioned, I have the clicker. I'll go ahead and do that. So Diego already highlighted, but really the purpose of this phase of the project was a continuation of our master plan. Part of our park-wide master plan for George Zay, recommendations that came out were to replace the existing Olive Recreation Center and the Burbank Little Theater, and really create the same building use but expanded programming opportunities that would really serve the community, the needs today as well as future anticipated needs. So our purpose of this part of the project was to look at those buildings, develop new floor plans, look at the surrounding site improvements that may accompany those buildings when they come online. So as Diego mentioned, we started last October, and between now and then we've worked tirelessly with the Cultural Arts Commission, Park Board staff, community members, other stakeholders to really gather input on what these floor plans look like, what are the needs, and develop 3D renderings and building elevations for what those buildings might look like. So we're here presenting today to hopefully gain your approval and recommendation to go to City Council. So I'll just kind of backtrack as a recap from our park-wide master planning efforts. We had a tremendous amount of community input that really shaped how we ended up here today. We had our virtual project website, number of virtual and in-person community workshop, town hall presentations, online surveys, stakeholder interviews, community pop-up events. So tremendous amount of feedback that was received. And throughout that process, we heard loud and clear the importance of upgrading the existing Olive Recreation Center and Burbank Little Theater. So here's that master plan back from 2022, excuse me. And part of that report, we developed phasing recommendations, and as I mentioned, the project area kind of in purple was deemed the next phase that we wanted to study, the 2 buildings. As I mentioned, remove the existing and replace with the new Olive Recreation Center with similar programming footprints, basketball courts, classrooms, space for administrative staff, as well as replacing the Burbank Little Theater with really a performing arts center that would serve an expanded use for the community just beyond a single stage and auditorium footprint, and really create a central gathering space between these 2 buildings. Currently, the way the buildings are positioned now, front doors face Olive, but there's not really a connection between the 2. They share a back alley that's really an unusable space. So really flipping the orientation of those 2 buildings to be focused in to create a pedestrian-friendly zone, excuse me, that really hones in on the activity that's happening in that area. As part of those improvements, we looked and will continue to look at what we have, excuse me, take a sip of water, I'm sorry. What opportunity we have to modify and renovate the existing parking lot that kind of separates the 2 buildings now to create a more central drop-off zone. So we still have vehicular access, but it's much more pedestrian friendly and a safe environment because we know the proximity to the playground and the ball fields and how much activity takes place at George's A now. And in doing so, we'd also look at expanding pedestrian walkways, sustainable planting opportunities, improving existing park amenities, creating spaces for spectator viewing and participation in the ball fields, as well as connecting to the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center and really creating more of a centralized art walk or art spine and connection between all the buildings within the park. And finally, we also would suggest removing the existing freestanding restrooms that are behind the Burbank Little Theater now, kind of adjacent to the playground, and creating that as part of the Performing Arts Center footprint, exterior restrooms that have access for park users, but not a separate building. So creating some efficiency. So I will start with the floor plans, which are a little hard to see at this level, but I'll just talk kind of high level, and I think you have copies of them, so if there's any questions at the end, happy to go through closer. So really where we're talking about is following the existing footprint of where the Burbank Little Theater is now and the Olive Recreation Center. So we know we have limited park space, so really just working within the framework that we can to create an impactful building footprint. So I'll start with the Performing Arts Center, what we're now calling the Performing Arts Center. In this building, we have a black box theater, a stage and auditorium, 99-seat auditorium, a scene shop, and dance studio. We also have a green room, staging / changing rooms, a large lobby, and audience viewing space, as well as a number of other janitorial kind of storage space opportunities, and those exterior park restrooms. So very multifunctional in this building, but lots of opportunity for flexibility and change of use as the needs arise or change. And these are some elevations of the building which would face, so the theater's, kind of in the back, I'll say, but the face of it faces Olive Avenue. So that first elevation at the top is that view of that building. And I do have a video at the end with more developed renderings, which might help illustrate these a little better. But really creating, contemporary look that fits within the framework of the park, aesthetically pleasing. And what's a little difficult to tell in the renderings, using some cladding, unique cladding that has a backlighting, so really that building at night has a really nice glow effect. So really just creating it as a beacon within the park. There's going to be a lot of activity here and really capitalizing on that. And this would kind of be the backside, which faces towards the playground. And here together you can see how that building faces what will be the new Olive Recreation Center. So the Performing Arts building is on the left, the Rec Center is on the right, and between the two they have that covered breezeway opportunity. So the Olive Recreation Center, this is a first ground level floor plan. That building is a 2-story building. So on the ground floor we do have 2 full-size basketball courts, classroom opportunities, employee wellness center, a teen center, childcare, as well as custodial and janitorial spaces. Like the Performing Arts Center, we have a lobby welcoming guests and community members in with stair and elevator access to what will be the second floor, which is primarily administration, staffing offices, but we do have an observation deck, which is accessible to view the outside of the breezeway, as well as an indoor walking track. So if you're on the second level, you can get up there and see below to the ball courts, just creating more walking opportunities for the community within this footprint. And here is that building, exterior elevations. The top elevation is the back side of the building, which would face Olive Avenue. And the bottom elevation is the side profile running along the ball fields. And those are the opposite angles. And what I didn't mention about both buildings, which I will get to in just a minute, kind of profile. That's the other side. So what I didn't mention previously is by focusing the entries of both of these buildings towards each other, we're really creating this flexible, open corridor space that can be used for anything from classroom opportunities, performances, just a walkthrough, expanded outdoor art galleries. The doors on both buildings do open to face each other. So we're talked about, wide spanning glass doors that could be pulled back, retracted to be opened up. So really expanding those footprints, and say if there's a performance in the Performing Arts Center. If there's activity in the lobby doors could be opened up. That can spill into the corridor. So really creating just a hub for activity in this space. And looking at what that overhead shade connection is between the buildings so that it is protected, there is shade, but it's still open to the exterior. We know there's so many great existing trees on site, so really capitalizing that and carrying that through. So here are some of the renderings that are actually on the boards around the room, so hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at those a little closer. So this is a view from the existing parking lot that would be ideally modified to create that drop-off zone leading to the plaza between the two buildings. Here's kind of the same view, just opposite side. And walking closer through the plaza, looking towards the rec building, the Olive Recreation Center building. A view kind of further out from that. And now we're within that corridor. So there is relationship between the two buildings, opportunity for hopefully some trees in there, and just flexible space. Seating that could be movable, performance space, like I said, art opportunities. And since we are in close proximity to the Starfighter jet and we know the backside of the building, we have to deal with that. So really enhancing that space, expanding those pedestrian walkways, helping to kind of direct and educate people that this is not the front of the building now, this is the backside. Here's just kind of a pulled back further view. So really taking what's in the park, all the wonderful trees, passive green space, and just enhancing that and keeping that feeling throughout. And this is the side adjacent to the baseball field. So of primary concern would be to enhance or expand the ball containment netting on those fields. So we're protecting pedestrians, since now there will be potentially more activity back there, but really maintaining that open view to the fields for spectator participation and viewing. And this is kind of coming up from the large stadium field to the backside of the Performing Arts Center. And on that side of the Performing Arts Center, looking at glass or glazing on the building to really just keep it open, reflective, eye-catching. Oops. And here's another view, kind of on that same baseball corridor side, but from Olive Avenue. So again, expanding those pedestrian walkways, utilizing signage and monumentation to direct people to where the building entries are now. Keeping the passive opportunities. Oh, and here's our video. So this will tell us a little more. Okay, that concludes the presentation. So I'll turn it back over to Diego.
Thank you, Tamara. In conclusion, I'd like to take a moment and thank RJM Design Group and SVA for their commitment to quality community engagement and for articulating our community's vision through these wonderful renderings that will assist staff to communicate how we aim to meet the needs of our communities today and into the future. So I'd like to pause there and open it up to questions and again, thank RJM and Tamara for their quality work.
Thank you so much. That very, very visually appealing. So, and the video and everything just really helped to kind of put it all together. So,
Great.
I will open up to my board members to field any questions. Ashley?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you. This is exciting. I mean, I'm excited. Especially about the performing arts space.
Yes.
I come from a performing arts background, so
Wonderful.
just to have a space like that in our community is very exciting, and I'm excited to see how it's utilized,
Yes.
who takes advantage, maybe a band that we're familiar with. So that's very exciting. I was able to attend way back. It seems like forever ago.
You
now.
look familiar, yes. I know we
so
probably
I was
met back
able
then.
to attend one of the community engagement events,
Great.
and so it's exciting to see it kind of come into fruition.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much for all that you've done.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful process for us to be a part of, kind of to see it through these different chapters, and your community is so vibrant and the cultural arts are so important. So it's been exciting for me too, as someone who doesn't live here, to see what the Little Theater is today and what it hopefully will be in the near future, and just how many more people will benefit from that space.
Robbie, do you have a question?
Oh my gosh, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank
As
you.
I say all the time, this is my park because I face this park
Yes.
in my house.
Okay.
I think I was in a rendering
You
there.
probably were.
So I have a few questions. I just want to, the jet is staying where it is, or you're
Yes.
moving the jet?
No, the jet will stay where it is. We don't want to touch that. Just really enhance the area now, and kind of transition between what will be the new building and kind of melding the existing linear park. So keeping the jet where it is.
Okay. Now, the performing arts, I've lived in Burbank a while. I think I saw every show that was there. Are you tearing that down? You're taking it down?
Yes, so
Oh,
that
gosh.
existing building would be removed, but replaced with this new, what we're calling Performing Arts Center. And I didn't really touch on the square footages, but I will say the existing building is about 2,500 square feet, and this new Performing Arts Center we're proposing is about 12,000 square feet. So it's significantly larger in the footprint. But the goal was really to take what's in the Olive Recreation Center now, the dance studio, some other uses that maybe functionally don't work there as well, and put them in this performing arts building where there's more similar uses that could be kind of used flexibility.
So the new space will be where the Performing Arts Center is now, between the ball fields and the playground.
The ball fields will stay, the playground will stay, so there'll be some modification to kind of the existing lawn and walkway spaces between the buildings and behind the building now, but the intent is to not touch the ball fields, not touch the playground, and just kind of accommodate the transition of space between the two.
So the breezeway that you talk about is where, I guess I would say, the disabled parking
Yes.
spaces are outside the theater?
Correct. Behind the existing Olive Rec Center stage, where the stage doors are back there.
And the recreation center, that is also coming down?
Yes.
Wow. So what would you say just as your guesstimate as how long we would be without a recreation center at all? We'll have none.
That's a great question.
I mean, is that like a year that there'll be no rec center at Easy Park?
Yeah, so construction for a project of this scale is between 12 to 24 months, right?
Yeah, wow.
And so, but we are strategic thinkers. We have access to through the joint use agreement to facilities with the school district, and we also have other rec centers that we would transition programming to accommodate for those classes and programs. So we would work to find a home for existing programs as we do this development.
Because that's a pretty busy, that's my rec center too, so it's, but it sounds like, I was guessing 12 months, but it could be more than that, huh? And these things going to come down at the same time, the performing arts space and the rec center?
So just to make a clarifying point, the Little Theater as it stands right now is not operational.
Right, you're right.
Okay. So there's not a displacement that's happening currently from that space. So yes, we would jointly work on both of those buildings.
There's a space I'm trying to think, I guess it's behind the performing arts space where groups used to sell snacks and stuff during games.
The concession stand.
Yeah, is that coming down as part of the?
It's not in this phase.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Let me see, the bathrooms that are right next to the ball fields, they're staying?
No.
So, because they are really in use by, sometimes all four of those ball fields are in play at the same time. So those people would have to walk over through the playground to the Performing Arts Center area?
So that's a good question. So let me answer that two ways. One, in the interim, during construction, we would work to put portable restrooms to give access to the folks that are using the playground. So that's number one. Number two, that standalone bathroom building would be incorporated into the performing arts building as exterior facing bathrooms. So when the performing arts building is not in use, evenings, weekends, whatever that case may be, early mornings on a Sunday when senior softball is playing, those bathrooms would be open and accessible.
But those will be the bathrooms for the ball field users
and playground. Playground, right? So those bathrooms, you can access into the bathrooms from the playgrounds and the ball fields, but you can't access into the building. In the Performing Arts Center itself will have bathrooms for that programming that takes place inside the building.
You know what? I'm trying to remember. Are those ball field restrooms? Are they accessible 24 hours right now?
No.
They're not, because I know that they're used by many visitors who don't go into the Jocelyn Center, who are playing it. So you don't want to leave those because it's quite far from the Performing Arts Center. It's through the whole playground, right, to the ball fields.
No. So the entrance to the new entrance to those exterior bathrooms will be almost exactly in the same location of the current existing building today. We're talking about maybe 30, 40 feet walk. Yeah.
Okay.
Very close proximity.
Now, the parking lot that's behind all this, where our new electric vehicle charging stations are, that parking lot is really in need of some slurry seal or something. I mean,
that would be part of the improvements done.
But is that, I thought that was not part of this first phase.
Well, the intent is to actually modify that parking lot and shorten it, if possible, to create that kind of drop-off turnaround zone. So the whole lot itself would be improved as part of this project.
Okay, because that really
needs it.
You just walking from one end of it to the other. It's there are big chunks of it all over the place. So that's part of the improvement phase that we're talking about right now.
Okay, I just want to clarify, because you mentioned EV charging stations. Okay, so the parking lot that Tamara's referring to is the parking lot between the playground and the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center, right?
Right.
And the breezeway so that there's going to be improvements there in this phase. In a future phase, right, the EV charging station parking lot, that we would have improvements there at a later phase.
Because I'm telling you, that parking lot is really in need. I mean, there are some fairly big holes, probably, maybe 20, in that parking lot where all the ball field families park.
Sure.
And there may be a temporary kind of solution. We'll go and take a look at that. And if there's a temporary solution that doesn't need a major renovation, just some basic maintenance, we can look at that.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the kind of slurry seal that they do on the streets. Now, when we're all done, will there still be room for, a lot of our gardening maintenance vehicles park there? Will there still be that space for them? Because I know they really rely on being able to be there.
Yeah, there's
Definitely.
there are no current plans to reduce the size and footprint of the outer parking lot.
Not to be grabby about it, but that lot really, I'm telling you, I don't know if that's a public works issue, but it could really use. Okay, I know this is also not in the first phase, and I'm not sure how much you got during your listening sessions, but I want to make a pitch.
Sure.
Because I live across the street and I see how often it gets used, is the horseshoe area. Probably not the first thing you think of at Easy Park, but they are the most dedicated, friendly,
I believe
neat
it.
and clean. And we hear that clang, clang, clang.
Sure.
In my kitchen, you can hear it.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know I don't know, is there any way, Diego, to advance that area to the first phase? Because those guys, I mean, they're so loyal, and I'll tell you, they don't leave a paper cup around, but it's quite used a lot. I mean, who knew that horseshoeing was still such a big deal? But it really is. And when you say, I know that's in the color for a future project, I'm just worried that's 5 years. Probably is. So I don't know if there's any way, I don't even know what you have in mind for the horseshoe area, but those men and women really, deserve even a light fluff because it's pretty old. So I don't know. I'm speaking on behalf of the horseshoe community. We are a horsey community, so these are their shoes that we use to play. So I don't know, Diego. You're kind of giving me the. I don't
listen,
think so. But
I've taken notes. I'm taking notes, and I appreciate the comment.
And let me see. I think Marissa would probably be able to answer this as a ex-Art and Public Places board member and chair. Is there an Art and Public Places requirement for this project?
So, yes, I mean, it's considered a renovation. But yes, we as a Park and Rec department, we will be absolutely incorporating public art into this project. I think you saw if you didn't catch it, there's a lot of art in the renderings, and that's one of the things that we want to ensure that there's a lot of public art. It's a vibrant park, as has been mentioned multiple times, and this is a fantastic opportunity to highlight public art installations. So.
Yes, like you, yes. I would love to see more public art in a park like this. It's just, it lends itself to it, and I couldn't quite tell where that would fit into the whole thing, but okay, great, as long as that's part of the plan.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, okay, I'm off my horseshoe, soapbox. Thanks very much for.
Thank you.
This is just such a, wow. And when is this being presented to City Council?
We had originally, we're looking at the 26th of November, but it's been re-agendized for December 17th.
So, Marissa, I have been on board, certainly on Water and Power, where we board members were encouraged to attend the board meeting where big projects were being addressed. Do we do that here? Because I would be happy to, during public comment, speak on our thoughts, and I did that a lot in Water and Power, so.
Absolutely, we would never discourage you from not attending. I don't know, a project like this. I would find it difficult that council would not be in support of it. I think once it is we firm up, I think we're looking at potentially doing a study session. We will, once it's firmed, we will send out notification to the board, and would absolutely love for your support to attend or email the council. We will, in the staff report, depending on the vote this evening, that will be included. So we do absolutely provide or present the reports to the park board, and the comments, the feedback we receive, that is included in our staff reports whenever we go to council. So your input is included in our staff reports, but absolutely your attendance, your support at council is always appreciated. So thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Zahra.
Mickey?
First of all, wonderful presentation. I've been going to that park, and I've worked at that park, and played ball at that park, and everything else since 1956 when we moved to California. And the gentleman, Dewey Krukerberg, who was really the father of our department, he acquired 7 different spots of land for the city. He was a visionary. And that used to be a USO building during World War II. And just a little history lesson here. And by the way, I'm kind of nitpicky here, but it's Isay Park, George Isay. He was a director of the department when I was working way back when. And so that's a pronunciation, just for my colleagues.
Thank you.
But as far as, I think it's beautiful. And I love the back of the park now, where the entry, I think that's a great idea. And I'm glad the Starfighter is staying there.
Absolutely.
Because it's a lot of people say, well, where is Olive Park? And I go, you know where the jetty? Yeah, okay, that's how you give directions to it.
That's your wayfinding.
So I think that's wonderful, and that kind of leaves a little bit of what the park was.
Absolutely.
They did renovate that building in 1973, and it wasn't. It's kind of obsolete, to say the least. And I'm really looking forward to this. It's very exciting. Now, quick question. Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center, is that going to remain there in its present state, or is there going to be some renovation there too, or no?
Good. Thank you for the question, Board Member DiPaolo. So there's minor renovations that are slated for the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center. And so the idea for the new rec center is to create more art gallery space within the center. So it complements the activities that are happening at the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center. Portions of the lobby of the Performing Arts Center is also being considered for art gallery space. And as Tamara had mentioned, both facilities, all of the doors, glass doors open, so you have an indoor-outdoor opportunity for both the classrooms and the theater space, so you can have a large outdoor gallery presentation that again complements the activities from the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center. When we were going through the community engagement, we were hearing over and over more gallery space, more event space. So this is what we're looking to deliver.
What a wonderful addition that's going to be to the community, and it's going to be heavily used, to say the least. It'll be a focal point, and I think the rendering, the plans are just beautiful, and I look forward to. And a quick question about the ball fields. They're not going to reverse the ball fields or anything like that, okay? Because I was getting, oh, they might do that, just talking to different people, and. But I have nothing but wonderful. It's going to be exciting to see, and thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley?
I do have one follow-up question. Will Jocelyn Adult Center at all be affected during construction? I'm sorry if that was mentioned.
That's not it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Tamara. It's not anticipated for us to impact the operation at the Jocelyn Adult Center. I think we probably look at some of those spaces as well to activate on a more kind of full-time basis as we're going into construction. So they have a lot of meeting space, they've got a lot of programmable space, and then we'll transition to not to impact the senior center, but to really fully utilize those spaces during downtime.
You're welcome.
One more question, I'm sorry. The Walk of Fame, will it stay in the same area?
Yes, the Walk of Fame is being preserved in the same area.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I like the configuration. I like how the two are kind of facing each other. Kind of, it's very welcoming coming from that drop-off zone. All that. I just have one weird question, I guess, and I'm not an architect, so excuse my ignorance on this. Given Olive Avenue is a major thoroughfare, and that's people's vision of what they're going to see, I didn't get the impression from the renderings, but it's not going to have a back of building feel. Is it, given it is the back of the building and you're driving on Olive and that's what everybody's going to see? Like, what does that look going to, because is it going to be not a standard back of building look to it? It looks like a front of a building, but it's not really the front. Like, I guess my question's weird, but like, I think I'm making sense when I'm asking.
I absolutely understand it. And that was really our challenge or opportunity to how do we make this space look, like you said, not back of building, but not confuse people that, hey, the front door's around the corner, not right here anymore. So actually, I think they're going to pull up the rendering for us so we can talk about it.
And I'll just share that is not a weird question, because that is something that staff also struggled with a lot.
I can flip through. If
11.
Let's see. Oh, okay.
Let's start the PowerPoint and just get to passive lawn area.
Here, I'll go. Okay, so that is the Performing Arts Center, and we are coming up to the, okay, so that the top elevation is what would be considered, what would be facing Olive. So, you know, we're still in, I'll say, conceptual design. Our next phase of the process is really design development. So that's where we'll further fine tune the elevations, the building materials, everything and anything. So certainly opportunity to expand upon this, but really the hope was to add additional trees and kind of landscape opportunities in the back of the building, some foundational planting to dress it up, but still say this is the back, not the front.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I am the furthest thing from an architect or a creative, so I'll leave that to those that do that for a living. But I would just say, just from I'm just going off the rendering.
Absolutely. I
would just say it's, and again, maybe it's just, there'll be fine tuning, maybe there'll be trees. It does look a little, for the kind of timing and money it's in, it does look a little bland.
Sure.
Like with the yellow brick and like, I don't know, like I would make it a little more inviting with maybe more floor to ceiling type of glass, or just like maybe even a deck that can come out there. Like people, I don't know the answer, but
all great
something
comments.
A little more inviting, since it is a back building, but it's like literally where everybody's going to drive by to see that. And like, I would hate for them to have just like that's the impression, because that's what they're going to see. That's the impression they're going to get of the building. So I would just maybe make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, even though it is the back, and I don't know what the right way to do it is. So like I'll leave it to the experts to do it, but that's just my 2 cents in it. But other than that, it looked great. Everything's fantastic about it. I like the configuration. I like the usage of it. That's just my only thing I would just say, keep in mind.
We absolutely will, and I value that feedback. So thank you, and that's something we'll work towards.
Well, this is, I don't know if this is kind of a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is it still going to be 1111 West Olive, or is it going to be Clark Avenue?
No, it's still the same
Okay, I'm
address.
just saying front and back, you know. But I don't know. I respectfully disagree with our chair. I think it's a great idea to have the entrance to both on the Clark Avenue side, and I think once this place opens up and people, they'll get used to that.
Oh yeah.
And they'll go, park on Olive and just walk on the grass, and I think that the landscape is really nice, and I think the residents and people coming from other areas will get used to it real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then old people like me, we don't matter anyway. Thanks.
That's not true.
Just kidding.
Respectfully, I don't disagree. I agree with the configuration. I like where the entrance is, like how they face, and I like where it is. I was just saying, since it's going to be the back, I was just saying, like, aesthetically, just make it look a little more, less back of building looking. That's it. But the configuration, I 100% agree. I like the way it's in that middle. There's that breezeway. I'm 100% on board with that. That was my only comment.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit of context, Mr. Merzalian, we had some deep conversations with our architects to ensure that was addressed, right? And so the back of the building, right, our direction was just great landscaping, really great visual presence. The materials are going to be inviting, the wayfinding signs, right? So people clearly identify this as the new Olive Recreation Center. All of those are key elements and direction that was provided to. So as we further develop this, we were going to continue down that track.
And sorry, one last comment. I apologize. One thing, there's a big grass area there. And a way I think, again, not claiming to be an architect or a designer, but one thing that I think could make it kind of offset that is putting a really just in that big grass area there, the one that's between Olive and the building, some sort of just really nice fountain feature, like a big fountain, some sort of water feature. I think that would offset looking at the building, and it would just be really beautiful to drive by and see that water feature kind of there. And I think it'll fill up the area nicely. Again, I'm sure there's other things that you have taken into consideration, but just a thought that I think some sort of water feature could look nice and offset like that and make it look kind of appeasing.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if that's all, thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to present this evening, and appreciate the feedback as well. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. I do want to remind the board that there is, there's a vote that we'd like, or a motion that we'd like for the board to make to support the George Isay Park Master Plan Phase 2. So if
I make the motion. We support the George Isay.
Phase 2. Phase 2.
Yeah, we support the George Isay Phase 2.
I second.
All right, shall we take a vote? Okay, all in favor of moving forward with the proposed Phase 2 of the George Isay Master Plan?
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous. Thank you. Are we now going through the
next one?
The next, which is the City Park Master Plan?
Wonderful. Good evening, Chair Mazzalian. Thank you, board members. Diego Ceballos, again with you to do a presentation of the citywide park master plan. In 2021, we began a professional working relationship and partnership with RJM Design Group for the development of the George Isay Park Master Plan, which you've seen today. And as part of the department's strategic plan to continue offering valuable, safe facilities and engaging programs, the department has initiated a city park master plan to assess the city's needs as far as city facilities, amenities, and programs. And so this is a wonderful launching point for us to continue to assess our facilities and gain that momentum and that traction and build on the successes that we had in the George Isay Park Master Plan. It is my pleasure to welcome Zachary Muting and Kristen Schnell from RJ Design Group to provide the framework for the City Park Master Plan, its process, the corresponding timeline, the principal objectives, and the key strategies and the recommendations from that plan.
Thank you very much, Diego. It is a pleasure to be invited back here tonight again to present the findings of the Park and Recreation, the Parks Master Plan here for the city. I believe we have a presentation we're going to queue up here that will walk through what we heard from the community, the journey we went over the last more than a year's effort of outreach and analysis. I'm going to condense it into about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour presentation tonight. That was the time I was told I could take, correct? No. I'll try and be brief, but there is a lot that goes into this. Mostly all the community outreach as we go through this, we wanted to make sure we had a true dialogue with the community to truly listen and hear all of the wants and needs. And that did take quite some time, and I do take that very near and dear to heart, so that way we can truly understand what those community needs are. As Diego mentioned, this is a guide and an implementation tool for the development of recreation facilities and programs in the future. The most important element is it's based on the local community needs. It's based on your community. We accomplished this by breaking it down to 5 phases. First, the inventory of the existing conditions, getting a lay of the land of the city, what's out there. Then going through an extensive community engagement and outreach process. Where we weighed the two, what you have and what the community wanted, we developed a needs analysis. From that needs analysis, what the community wanted and what you have, we developed the recommendations and then discussed funding and implementation strategies. You can see here the timeline where we started back in September of 2023 to where we are today with our presentations. Through that middle section, there was a substantial amount of effort that went into reaching out to the community through different workshops, stakeholder interviews, online surveys, multimodal surveys, and I'll share that information as we go through the presentation tonight. As I mentioned, that first phase was the inventory of parks and facilities. We went through and we looked at all of the facilities available to the community, and we started to map them. There's a lot of mapping that we do throughout this process to evaluate where facilities are, but also where is the community comments coming from? Where does the community live? What do they want within those areas? Looking at even a sub-neighborhood level recommendation strategy. So as we go through, we look at all those park facilities, as the parks and the facilities themselves in 2 different maps there, you can see an equal distribution throughout the entire community. We also look at the programs. For going back in the last 2-year programming elements, we saw everything from adults 55 plus, aquatics programs, arts and cultural activities, camps, community special events, parent and child classes, preschool classes, sports programs, teen and adult classes, and youth classes, just to say a few. We also looked at the demographics. Before we went out to the community in our community outreach efforts, we wanted to get a snapshot of whom the community might be. Looking at the demographics is just one lens or layer of that. We see the population in 2023, over 100,000 members. And we also look at the age breakdowns. 19% were under 19 years old. From 19 to 34, 24%. 42% of the population is from 35 to 64. And 15% of the population is 65 plus. Then that brings us to our community engagement. where in order to get a true dialogue with the community, we have to make sure we reach out in every opportunity we can, both digitally, in person, online, as well as community workshops. We conducted stakeholder interviews, virtual town hall workshops, live in-person workshops, as well as a project website where we could listen to the community in 24/7 feedback, where we shared information and there was a feedback button on the website. Anybody at any point in time, even up to tonight, can click on that button and share direct feedback with the planning team. As we went through this, we record all the information we hear, and I do want to make a mention here that we received over 3,000 responses in our surveys. This was a tremendous amount from the community, and actually a title was broken. There is a title within our office of the most held surveys for one single event. That was the George Isay Master Plan that Tamara did. There was 800 surveys conducted in one event. Well, in true fashion, staff does not want to just leave a title out there unbroken for long. And I do want to point out, Workshop 3, we received 1,146 surveys for an individual outreach event, breaking that title. So Burbank not only started the title, but continues to hold it today, and that is very impressive. As we conduct all of our outreach, from the multimodal survey to the workshops to the feedback, I always like to look at the distribution. These maps show me where the community input came in from. So that way I can see, not just demographically, but geographically, am I getting a good cross-section of the community throughout the entire city? Is everybody weighing in so I can hear their voices? And we see that in each one of these outreach events. We see a great distribution of people from all across the community weighing in and having their voice heard. I'd like to share some of those feedback elements that we heard as we came through the planning process. Starting with some of the stakeholder interviews conducted on March 15th through April 12th, 2024. These were one-on-one interviews with key community leaders. Elements that we had heard from these interviews included programs and facility needs. Some of those program needs we heard most often included sports and arts for youth, environmental initiatives, educational programs, aquatic programs, and nature education. Some of the facility needs we heard from the community included pickleball courts, performing arts center, splash pads, theater, as well as park restrooms. There was also a city focus group conducted. On January 17th, city staff focus groups included up to 48 participants, and elements that we heard from those focus groups included programs and facility needs as well. Under the program needs, we heard teen programs, safety, more concerts, and senior services. Under the park facility needs, we heard lighting, parking, teen center, dog park, indoor pool or spa, pickleball courts, soccer field, Starlight Bowl renovations, and volleyball court outdoor. As we go through this, you'll notice common threads. I'm not repeating elements that we heard in just one workshop element, but these common threads start to come through all of the different outreach strategies. And as these common threads come through, they rise to the surface as those priorities that we hear most often from the community. Another element of our outreach strategy was to conduct a statistically valid multimodal survey. And you can see here in the chart on the left, again, a great distribution of responses all across the community. And I want to share just a few of those with you here. 86% of the participants said that they get their information about Burbank parks, recreation facilities, and programs from the city's website or the internet or social media. It's a pretty tech-savvy community. That's important because as we start to look at offering new programs or services, we know where the audience is. We know primarily where we can start to put information out on. Every community is different. In this community, you have a very tech-savvy group of residents. 81% said they are satisfied with the job the city is doing maintaining the parks and recreation facilities here in Burbank. To give you a little bit of an example on that, the range for just the last 9 park and recreation master plans I've conducted, the range is from 45 to 91%. The average is 75. You are above average in terms of that satisfaction level, and that's something to be proud of. 75% of the participants said they were satisfied with the existing parks, recreation facilities, and programs that they utilize within the Burbank. Now, again, the average on that from the just past 9 park and recreation master plans I've done is 67%, again, above average here. And that's really the trend here. As we go through this, as we do outreach events, we're hearing that there's a large section of the community that love to live, work, and play here in Burbank. As we continued that statistically valid multimodal survey, we went through and we asked several questions, similar to the ones we asked the previous groups. What is one program, class, or activity you would like to see added or improved in Burbank? And we heard swimming classes, yoga, meditation, children's activities, pickleball, art classes, senior activities, fitness, and basketball. When we asked what is one park feature, amenity, or recreation facility you would like to see added or improved within the city of Burbank, we heard swimming pools, playground updates, more grass and tree areas, restrooms, walking paths, soccer fields, dog park, tennis courts, pickleball courts, and more parks. Again, we're starting to hear some of those commonalities, those common threads are starting to rise through the surface as we go through this process. Workshop 1 was held on March 13th, 2024 from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Jocelyn Adult Center at George Isaac Park. We had 459 completed surveys as part of this outreach process for workshop number 1. Now, the workshop was conducted first in person, and then following that event, there was an online virtual workshop for people who were not able to attend that night. They could attend online. The same video presentation that I gave during the live event was available to them, as well as the survey for 2 weeks. Some of the results we heard during that workshop, or some of the questions we asked as well as the results, included, what are the most important community characteristics that make the city of Burbank a great place to live, work, and play? And we heard the community and the small town feel, the family-friendly activities and education, safety and cleanliness, parks and recreation, accessibility, and the amenities available to the community. I asked the question that night as well too, or what are the issues or trends that may be negatively impacting these characteristics? We heard elements that are parks and green spaces, meaning needing more, traffic and pedestrian safety, homelessness, and housing affordability, recreation facility and programs, meaning needing more of them, and community services and accessibility. What role, we asked, can the city of Burbank play in addressing these issues to support the community characteristics that we love, which is why we live, work, and play here in the city of Burbank? We heard safety, cleanliness, and maintenance improvements, community engagement and feedback, continuing that dialogue, recreation, facility, and park expansions, program diversity and accessibility, as well as environmental conservation and green spaces. Continuing our outreach event, we had workshop number 2 held on April 10th, 2024 from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Mary Alvarado Recreation Center at Verdugo Park. 383 completed surveys were collected as part of this outreach event. Again, in this same format, we had a live in-person workshop at night where we talked to the community, we listened to their voices, and then we had a virtual online version of it for the next 2 weeks after. Questions asked during this workshop were, what is one park feature or amenity or recreation facility you would like to see added or improved within the city of Burbank? And we heard soccer fields, pickleball courts, swimming pool upgrades, dog parks, playground improvements. Again, those common threads are starting to repeat over and over as we go through this more now. What is one recreation program, class, or activity you would like to see added or expanded in the city of Burbank? We heard sports programs, youth programs, health and wellness, education activities, community development, and engagement. Finally, we had workshop number 3, which was conducted May 8th, 2024 from 6 to 8 p.m. at the McCambridge Recreation Center. And this is where it was actually done, where the old record of 841 surveys was knocked out, and now we had received 1,146 completed surveys as part of this outreach event, which I don't think can be broken for some time. It's truly an amazing effort there that the staff put out by making sure the engagement was there. This shows the dialogue with the community, listening to the voices. At this workshop, we shared all of the information we'd collected at this point, shared all the feedback as I've gone through today, and then asked, what are the top 5 program, classes, or activities you would like to see added or improved? After sharing all of the information and listening to additional information that night, the community came up with soccer programs, after-school programs, children's activities, youth sports, affordable classes, arts and crafts classes, swimming class, competition swim, cultural events, gardening classes, and improving the reservation system for sports and facilities. When we asked what are the top 5 park features and recreation facilities you would like to see most added or improved to meet the needs of the community, we heard soccer fields, restrooms, more parks, walking paths, playground improvements, ball field improvements, bike trails, splash pad, park maintenance, and a dog park. Throughout this entire process, up until tonight, we also have a live project website where anybody can go on it at any time, and even right now, that feedback button is live. We received 155 comments at the time of this report. As of today, I checked in again, we had 3 extra comments. We continue that dialogue as we go through. As we share information, the community responds to it. We also track the views. As of today, there were 5,856 views. And that's important because as we go through the process, I want to make sure that people are coming back to the website, they're seeing the information we're putting out there, and we are having that dialogue where people can weigh in and respond to what they've seen as we go through this process. As part of those feedback comments, we heard program needs such as arts and culture, youth sports, and maintenance that came up to the top. Park facility comments included soccer fields, playgrounds, pickleball courts, restrooms, bike paths, parking, trees, splash pad and water features, walking trails, shade, general park improvements, a dog park, and accessibility improvements. Now as we come to the close of that community outreach, we have to take into account how many times did we hear it, where did we hear it, and how do we start to put this all together in a prioritized system. So what we do is we look at it in terms of 3 different modes. The small group stakeholder interviews, the statistically valid community multimodal survey, as well as the community at large, workshop 1, 2, 3, and the feedback comments. And what we do is we rank them here. If something came up in all 3 of those outreach modes, it was identified as frequent. If it came up in 2 of those modes, it was identified as apparent. If it only came up in 1 of those modes, then it was simply put in the identified ranking column there. Now that's important to note too, is we don't leave anything off the list. We show the ranking for all of the information we heard that night, and these are the program needs you can see on the left-hand side for everything we've heard. Because as we go through the development of these facilities and programs, it might make sense to combine some of them, depending on different funding mechanisms or different community needs as we go along over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And that list, as we go through, we can see the frequent elements include arts and cultural programs, more senior programs and activities, swimming class and competitive swim. The apparent element that came up in 2 modes included day camps and youth sports. When we look at the prioritization of the facility needs, the same ranking applied. If it came up in all 3 of those outreach modes, it was identified as frequent. 2 modes, it was identified as apparent, and then we have the identified list below there too. And what we had heard was, from the frequent category, add more parks and green areas, dog parks, pickleball courts, restrooms, soccer fields, sustainable park management, swimming pool improvements, and walking paths and trails. The apparent category included accessible playgrounds and facilities for those with disabilities, bike trails, park maintenance, parking and transportation, performance venue, playground improvements, and a splash pad. With those recommendations that we'd heard from the community, the prioritization list of all of the outreach that we'd heard, we then start to look at what is the gap analysis or service analysis. Where are all the parks? Where are the community areas? And how much of the community can access the parks? We find here that they're out of 731 acres of city parkland, there's 6.95 acres per 1,000 residents. 92% of the residents live within a 15-minute walk to a city park. We further continue our analysis by looking at where are the neighborhood parks? What is the walking radius for the neighborhood parks, the community parks, the smaller parks? What are the green space desires? What were the pickleball court desires? We map all of those individual elements. So as we go through the recommendations in the report, they're paired with what the existing facilities are, what the community comments were, and what the recommendations are. We also look at the average distance traveled for parks, and the map on the far right-hand side, I think, is a real good indicator as well too, is the popularity here of Burbank parks. People come from outside the city to recreate here. That's a great thing. You are a regional destination. We see the travel time that people go to Burbank parks actually extends quite far beyond the city borders. From there, we're able to develop key strategies and recommendations. We've developed 6 key strategies, and I want to just take a few minutes to go through each one of the key strategies and some of the goals or specific recommendations that will go into supporting those key strategies that will support the development of parks here in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future. The first key strategy is develop a multi-use sports complex that maximizes space efficiency, providing flexible scheduling and promote inclusive programming for all age groups. Specific recommendations to support this include the development of soccer fields, pickleball courts, and youth sports. Looking at some of those soccer fields, there are fields that are in existence today, primarily all in school facilities. That's a good partnership that the city has by working with the school facilities to make sure they're covering the sports facility needs such as soccer, but making sure we balance the system is equally as important too. So that way, as school facilities ebb and flow and the community sports needs ebb and flow, we're able to maintain a balance of those recreation available fields. Key strategy 2 deals with implement aquatic center improvements with diverse water features, swim programs, and spaces for both competitive athletes and casual swimmers. Specific recommendations that support this key strategy include swimming pool improvements, swimming classes, and competitive swim, as well as splash pad elements, smaller mist splay elements, such as small water features that may be included in several areas. Key strategy 3 include adopt a comprehensive park enhancement plan that prioritizes eco-friendly practices, modernizes amenities, and ensures inclusive access for all community members, including those with disabilities. There are several goals specifically listed in the recommendations that include improvements to park maintenance. I want to pause on that one because if you reflect back to the satisfaction with maintenance, it's very high in this community. This does not reflect a lack of maintenance, but that you are at such a high level, the community wants to make sure we stay at that high level and continue that excellence of maintenance that we have here. Sustainable park management, restrooms, looking at peak daytime usage so the restroom cleaning schedules can actually follow some of those peak daytime uses. Playground improvements, developing playground renovation schedules, so that way we can accurately start to forecast playground improvements and renovations down the road. Accessible playgrounds with facilities for those with disabilities, as well as a dog park, the implementation of the Dick Clark Dog Park coming up. Key strategy number 4 was create interconnected greenways with walking loops that link parks and trails to accessible transit options and parking, promoting sustainable mobility and outdoor recreation. 4 specific goals support this key strategy, including more parks and green spaces, looking at repurposing undeveloped land, looking at public-private partnerships, so that way we can expand those green spaces throughout the community. Walking paths and trails, and include looking at internal loops, as we saw in the earlier presentation, internal park loops, or even the internal loop in the second story of the George Isay Community Center there. Bike trail improvements, continued development of the complete streets plan with the bicycle and pedestrian mobility at goal number 5 specifically, as well as parking and transportation options. Key strategy number 5, create a versatile cultural hub that offers adaptable spaces for performances, exhibitions, and community-driven programs, fostering creative expression and cultural engagement. 2 key elements here. Goals to support this key strategy include performance venues, develop collaborative partnerships with local nonprofit groups to promote the venues and cultural arts programming, as well as continue the development of the Burbank Little Theater in the Starlight Bowl, as well as development of arts and cultural programs. Key strategy number 6 is to expand diverse programming that provides tailored activities for both seniors and youth, encouraging activity, engagement, and community growth. Specifically, senior programs, specific mentions that we had heard when we reached out to the community include Tai Chi, aquatic cardio, and yoga. Day camps, exploring partnerships with schools there, as well as half day and full day for flexibility. After going through all of the community outreach, developing those key strategies, we also provided several elements within the appendices where we went through maintenance recommendations. As we toured all the parks and facilities, we also met with maintenance staff and public works and looked through different elements that we can pair with those recommendations. Developing the playground, maintenance management tracking system, looking at expanding into the picnic shelters, gazebos, looking at their maintenance elements. Everything from courts to lights to turf maintenance were recommended, and strategies as well as annual strategies were paired within the report as well too. A lot of technical data, but I do like to showcase it here because when we do programs, when we do new parks or park facilities, they always balance with maintenance. It is a give and take, it is an ebb and flow. Anytime we use our recreation facilities, we have to upkeep and maintain them. So we have a number of those recommendations as well. Lastly, it comes down to the brass tacks, the funding and implementation strategies. The landscape of funding is an ever-changing landscape. Today's landscape is less of the large dollar amount, single-time grants coming down from the Fed or the state, and looking at more of combining smaller grants, looking at the $500 to $10,000 grants from elements such as the United States Tennis Association, from the USA Swimming Foundation grants, looking at those grants so we can combine different things to promote programs and elements and continue to offer the services that you do. When we total everything up at the end, we identify in the document itself a list of all of the different CIP park strategies. And I know we heard from the 25-26 earlier. This one reflects the $24-25 amounts that were identified. And there were $45.5 million in planned CIP park improvements there. As we go through this recreation master plan and we look at everything possible based on all of the needs, based on all the recommended facilities, that number goes up to $154 million. But I want to pause and say that's a big number, but it's a long road. This is a long outreach planning document where we talk about up to 2040. This isn't, we're going to build it all today. I would love that. I think the community would love it, but that's just not realistic. The reality of planning for a successful future starts with documents like these. It starts by listening to your community. What are their wants and needs? What are the prioritizations? And then following those strategies to implement them over time. With that, I want to say thank you very much for letting me speak. I hope I didn't go too long. I didn't hit the 2-hour mark. I think Diego would have gotten the hook long before then. But really, the key considerations here are we must maintain the parks and the maintenance elements. We must look for all those funding mechanisms and have this long-term plan, because these recreation services and facilities are the lifeblood of the community. They are critical services. They drive the tourism and local and regional tourism here for the community. They allow us to come together truly as families, as community members, to support sports, kids, and outdoor recreation. This is the front door of the community. We want to make sure that it stays special for all generations to come. I really appreciate your time, and I hope I didn't go too long. I know, Diego, you had some closing comments.
Yes, this does conclude our presentation. I do appreciate Zach's detail-oriented approach, the deep community engagement, looking back at slide 11, we've got over 7,000 pieces of feedback that we got from the community. So the document that we've developed, the City Park Master Plan, really is the voice of the community. It's the community telling us what their priorities are, and it's a key piece of information and a guiding document that will help make our decision-making process clear, articulate, and it clearly outlines the next 15 years of park development in our city. So with that being said, I thank you for the opportunity to work on this alongside you, Zachary. I appreciate all the long nights at community meetings and enduring all of the questions, and you're a true professional. And I also like to take a moment to thank Kristen, who has really guided us and kept us on track. A lot of work went into this plan, and she did a phenomenal job of making sure that we delivered this master plan in a timely manner. So with that being said, I would like to open it up to questions, and the floor is yours, Board.
No, thank you. Yeah, great presentation, a lot of information. I'll save my comment/question for the end, but I'll open up to my board members if they have anything. No? No? You have
I don't have any questions really, but I love the percentages of the services that our department provides. The high percentage, it's higher than the average that you were talking about. I think it's something for our department to be really proud of. A lot of the programs on there, and pickleball was on there a lot. I think, a lot of those things we're already doing, but there's a need for more facilities. I understand that. And what really impressed me, though, there's a lot of things that we're doing, and I think the community attendance at these things was wonderful. And as I saw a lot of good friends of mine there in the pictures, and it ranged from young adults to seniors. So I think it was, and especially the way the whole city was represented, that's very, very impressive. And this is all exciting stuff tonight. And I look forward to see it. And I figured 2040 is they're going to approximate completion. I'll only be 94, so I'll be here for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. I'll say my comment first, and then I'll go to my question. My comment is that you guys clarified a little bit at the end, but as you're going through the presentation, maybe this was just a preconceived thought I had in my head that this was actually there was this community thing, but then we're going to get a plan of an actual George Isaiah. Here's what it's going to look like. Here's the renderings and drawings. But the more you're going through it, I was like, is this more of a research project rather than an actual plan for a specific facility or whatever it is? So maybe it's just, I was confused because the way it was park master plan, it felt like you're going to community outreach, getting the research. Okay, now we're going to implement the plan and design, and here's the design. And I felt like this is more, not taking away from it because it's a lot of work that you guys did. I know how much work this is. And it's great that you guys got all this information. But I guess my question, it's two questions. Was this more of a research project, or is it a research project and now there's going to be specific implementation, and the next step is we're going to see actual renderings and drawings just like we did for Isaiah? I guess I'm a little confused as to what this is all about. So maybe just help clarify that. Not to take away from what you guys have done, and I don't mean to sound crass with my question, just trying to get an idea moving forward now when we see this, what to expect.
No, that's actually a very good question. It's both, to be honest. Short answer, yes. It is primarily research. And in order to know what to build, we have to ask the community. And in order to ask the community, there is truly a right and wrong way to do it. Staff knew how to do it by going out in not just one mode, not just with the phone survey or with an online survey, but listening to the community any way they wanted to communicate. And with that, you're right, we're able to get a representative geographically and demographically of the entire community. So from that standpoint, it is a research project, but at that point here, when we get to the recommendations and in the back of the book, we start to see what the community wants, what the existing conditions are, what the community voice was, and now what the recommendation is, such as pickleball courts. I did hear that one a lot. We'll have to fact check it. It did come up quite a bit. And so when we go through it, we can see the pickleball existing conditions, where the 4 existing courts are located, where the 8 overlay courts are located, what we heard from the community, and recommendation for additional courts. So now the next step would then be say, okay, I know what they want. Let's go develop some drawings and land the spaceship, so to speak, if you will. So with this information, it also comes with a prioritized list. If we're going to spend capital dollars, what's the best bang we can get for our money? How can we make sure we impact most of the community? And that's when we go to those priorities ranking systems, and we can see where the community came out in all of those outreach modes. So it pairs what the community wants, where they want it, with the prioritized ranking system too. So I hope that answers your question. It's kind of a bit in both.
Yeah, I'd like to add just one more piece, and this is very similar to phase 1 of the George Isaiah Park Master Plan, right? So phase 1 of that plan was exactly what Zachary had mentioned. What is it that we want, right? And not just go in there with a shovel, say, we're building you a new rec center, like it or not. right? Just going in there and asking what is your priority, what needs the most improvement, where are some opportunities for phasing these projects, and then we go into phase 2 of that plan, right? We're going back a little bit, and then now we have 3D renderings, and there will be a phase 3, and we're not on that topic, so I'll end it there. But that's really the approach, right? And as we talk about pickleball courts, and we talk about how other cities have designed pickleball courts, where we're pitting neighbor against neighbor, tennis player against pickleball player, we're taking a very drastically different approach in that we really want to study it. We don't want to make rash decisions. We want to understand what the needs of the community are, and then strategically move as funds are available to develop those particular properties, right? And as we do that, we bring our community along for the ride with a lot of support. Our park board is supporting us. Our community is behind us when we go and break ground on a particular project. It is understanding all of the complex issues associated with the unintended consequences, with the benefits, with the cost analysis, and all of that. So I hope that answers your question. I've been a part of other cities where we've taken different approaches, and I can tell you the opposition for projects, as well intended as they could possibly be, is there, and projects become sidelined or derailed. And I want to be able to ride this momentum in these absolutely quality community engagement, enormous amount of data that supports the direction moving forward. So.
Yeah, it does. It answers my question. I think maybe I don't know why, but in my head I was thinking it was a little bit more specific to like a specific property that we were looking at, or specific something. And so it was just very generic, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I was just confused as to was this just to get an idea of what the community wants? Great, fun stuff. Okay, now we'll see you in 20 years. And I guess I was just confused as to is this progressing into an actual, will it materialize into something very specific? Okay, now we know this information. Okay, priority 1, now we're going to go to, I don't know, McCambridge and do X, Y, and Z. And now we're going to go to here and do ABC. That's, I guess, what I was trying to figure out. So that's where I was a little bit kind of not clear. You guys have clarified. That's just where my head was at.
Wonderful.
It's hard to follow that video. It really is.
And so just to make one last point here. Every year we have a list of capital projects that we bring to this board, right? So this guiding document will now substantiate exactly why we're choosing to do shade structures, why we're choosing to build playgrounds, why we're choosing this neighborhood, right, to build those playgrounds, right? When we're looking at equity, are we spending our resources because there's political pressure to put a nice playground in this nice neighborhood, or are we putting a playground where it's most impactful, right? This is that deep analysis that helps us make those defensible decisions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Diego, thank you very much for all that. You have something else?
Yes, sir. There is a motion that staff is recommending.
Oh, that's right.
So staff is recommending that the Park and Recreation Board support the city park master plan.
Do we have a motion?
I move that the Park and Recreation Board supports the city Park and Recreation Department master plan.
And this is Robbie. I'll second that.
Thank you. Let's take a quick vote. All in favor of moving forward with the City of Burbank Park Master Plan, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
All right, and last but definitely not least, Ms. Grace Coronado with an Urban Forest Master Plan.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Serlian and members of the board. My name is Grace Coronado, Assistant Park Recreation and Community Services Director. I'm here to provide an update on the department's plan for Burbank's sustainable urban forest management. Burbank's trees are invaluable assets that contribute significantly to our city's infrastructure, identity, and history. The department has been managing and preserving these public trees, ensuring that they continue to thrive for generations to come, and has been recognized for over 47 years as Tree City USA. I'm also happy to announce that we just completed another application, so the results will be forthcoming. This recognition, of course, highlights the department's commitment to preserving the city's urban forest. To provide a little history on the department's urban forest management, in 1999, the department partnered with Davie Resource Group, a leading firm in urban forestry with extensive knowledge with the city trees, to conduct a street inventory utilizing Davie's Tree Keeper system to manage the inventory. Additionally, in 2007, Davie completed an inventory of trees located in city parks, which laid the foundation for future analysis and strategic planning. In 2008, the department conducted a comprehensive analysis of city public trees. At that time, Burbank had 32,077 trees, approximately 331 acres, valued at $162 million, contributing $4.3 million in gross annual benefits. These benefits include stormwater reduction, energy savings, and carbon dioxide reduction, amounting to $2.4 million in net benefits after accounting for maintenance costs. From this analysis, several key recommendations emerged: expanding planting programs, diversifying species, increasing canopy cover, and establishing a pruning program, which I'm happy to share that the department has accomplished the aforementioned. Currently, we also have over 33,000 trees. Although many of these recommendations from the analysis have been implemented, the city has recognized the need for a more comprehensive approach. Thus, in the city's 2022 greenhouse gas reduction plan, the department outlined 2 actions to be completed by 2028. 1, creating an urban forest master plan and conducting an urban canopy study, specifically focusing on underserved communities, which will also be included in the upcoming master plan, as well as updating the city's park trees into our inventory database to better monitor and preserve them. Furthermore, the master plan will guide staff in expanding the city's tree canopy and ensuring equitable access to tree benefits for all residents. As part of the fiscal year 24-25 budget process, the department successfully secured $1.2 million to develop the Urban Forest Master Plan, which includes funding for CEQA consultation. This will ensure that the master plan aligns with state environmental regulations. Now, to kick off the Urban Forest Master Plan initiative, the department recently re-engaged with Davie Resource Group, who started the tree inventory and data collection phase in October 2024. Notably, the master plan will include updating the current tree inventory, conducting health assessments, performing an urban canopy study, reviewing tree policies, assessing the current pruning cycle, and gathering valuable community input. This comprehensive plan is designed to help the department to sustainably manage and expand the city's urban forest. However, community engagement will be essential in ensuring that residents' voices are at the core of this process. As stated in the staff report before the board, the Urban Forest Master Plan timeline includes the following key project milestones. From October to November 2024, the tree inventory will be conducted. From November 2024 to July 2025, data analysis will be processed. Community outreach will start in August 2025 through September 2025. Master plan development is slated from July 2025 through September 2025. We're hopeful to present the Urban Forest Master Plan presentation to various groups from October 2025 through February 2026. A finalization in March 2026, and an implementation beginning April 2026. In conclusion, the development of the Urban Forest Master Plan marks a pivotal step for Burbank's urban forest, ensuring its sustainable management and expansion. With Davie Resource Group's expertise and extensive community outreach, this initiative will promote environmental and health benefits across the city, reinforcing the value of our trees and essential assets. The Urban Forest Master Plan is more than just a plan. It's a commitment to enriching the quality of life for all residents of Burbank. Before I conclude my presentation, I'd also like to thank Lupe Santarriaga, our administrative analyst, and Mike Del Campo, one of our Assistant Park Recreation Community Services directors, who have been part of the Urban Forest Master Plan Update Initiative. This concludes my update, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Park Board, do you have any questions, comments? Ashley? No? No, I think we're good. Thank you for that update. All right. Moving to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine by department staff and may be enacted on by the board by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless before the board votes on the motion to approve the recommendations, board members, staff, or public requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Removed consent items will be discussed separately. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I so move. Approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor to
Aye.
approve? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, that takes us to, I don't believe we have any tabled items, so we'll skip that one. Any additional comments from the board that we want to go through?
Real quickly, thank you, Chairman Zerlian. I want to thank the Park and Recreation staff and City Council, but especially the Park and Recreation staff for the wonderful support they always give to our Veterans Day and Memorial Day ceremonies. I can't say this enough, but our Veterans Committee appreciates so much the support that the staff gives us. And quite simply, without them, these ceremonies wouldn't be possible. And, I just want to thank all the staff that was there, with Marissa and Diego and Noah and the other staff. And I want to mention Dave Mudgett. I had the honor of hiring Dave back in the 1989 to be exact. And Dave is going to be retiring in December. And he's does such a great job, not only with our committee, he's been involved in that for several years, but his creativity lends to our wonderful Halloween and Christmas celebration and day camps, and he's going to be missed. But Dave, I know Dave way back when I was running the boys sports program, and he was one of the participants, and his dad was a coach, and his dad and mom are wonderful people, so that, he's a product of his environment. And I just want to wish Dave and his wife and kids the best in retirement. And I'm sure Dave's not going to completely retire. He's going to get involved in Santa Clarita, I'm sure. But, and also the DIG program, headed up by Kim Freed. We met out there on I think the Saturday, the 2nd of November, I believe, and we had some people from the VFW, some veterans come up along with the DIG volunteers, and we kind of did a little weeding of the rose garden in support of the Parks Department, who always does a good job down there. But, we wanted to be a little of assistance in getting it ready for Veterans Day, and we do the same thing on Memorial Day. So that was a nice opportunity for us, and thanks to the DIG program. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mickey. I know this is our final meeting before the holidays and Thanksgiving, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the staff for all of your hard work over the year. Over the years, this is my 4th year on this board, so it's a lot of work. It really is. And the output is the community's always excited and happy that we have these amazing events, whether they're celebrating a specific holiday, whether it's for seniors, youth, whatever the case may be, and they're all held at really, really cool facilities. So thank you all for what you do. Thank you to my board members for just being a cohesive unit, being supportive of one another. And thank you to the community for, always coming out here, like guys like Eric, coming out and just showing up at all our meetings and, just providing everyone he's not here anymore, but just a great way to just, enjoy the different things that our community has to offer. So I just want to say that before we break for Thanksgiving and the holidays and before we reconvene in January. But I think we have one more new agenda items. Do we have anything? No new agenda items? Go ahead, Mickey.
I guess it'd be an agenda item. I'd like to know, I know that I mentioned Dewey Krugerberg's name, and a lot of you, no, probably everybody here is not familiar with him except me. But we did pass a motion made by myself several years ago when I was on a park board about having a park named in his honor and memory. Like I mentioned before, he was a World War I veteran who came into the city of Burbank, had a high school education, but he's the reason that we have the McCambridge Park pool, the McCambridge Park building. He got a bond issue to build McCambridge Park, and he was a visionary. Olive Park, he had the USO say that he would supply staff as long as at the end of the war they gave us the building, and that's exactly what they did. And he invited the St. Louis Browns here to do spring training, just all sorts of things he did to augment the quality of the city's recreation and parks programs. And I was just interested in knowing if there's something that we could name in his honor in our park and recreation facilities. I know there was a passive park above Bel Air or Sunset Canyon. I'm not sure the exact location. I keep getting confused on that, but I'd like that, to agendize for our next meeting, if that's possible. Thank you.
Noted. You guys got that down. Thank you. Perfect. All right. If we don't have anything else, have a good Thanksgiving and holiday season, and we will see everyone on January 9th. And I am going to hit this gavel pretty hard, so get ready, set, go. Adjourned.